Hey guys, welcome back to another awesome episode of the Lifeonaire Show podcast. I'm saying welcome back because I'm hoping you've listened to previous episodes in the past. And if not, get back there and check out some of the ones that interest you. My name is Jason Wojo. On the Lifeonaire Show, we help people create amazing lives and businesses to support that life, to complement that life, not destroy it, not consume it. I am joined by Polish Peter, my co-host from another country. I guess my colleague from another country. Like I'm trying to think of something with some alliteration there, man. But
Trying
I'll
to be
work on it.
clever is not working. So
I'm trying to
for
be
those
clever.
of
It's
you
not
who are
working.
just tuning in, so on this particular podcast, there is two hosts here. One is the looks, the other one's the muscle. I'll let you decide which one is who. But yeah.
Well, all right, dude. So I got, we've dropped hints about this, and I'm excited to talk about this, man. We got we have a book date, launch date. If you guys have been listening to the show for any period of time, you know that I'm writing a book. I've written a book. It's done. It's in the final, right? As we record this right now, we're in the final proofreading sections. Everything's done. Illustrations are done. Books, like it's done. It's done. And it has been a 3-year journey for me. And, I thought it would take about a year. And yes, I'm slow. I guess we could all acknowledge that, but that's beside that point. I really wanted to make something that's tangible and good and concrete and something that's practical. I didn't want like some sort of fluffy academic book or something that only talked about high level stuff. I really wanted to hit home for people and make a difference in their life and their business.
So let me ask you this. So because we've been talking about this book, but I think for the listeners, my question for you. So if somebody were to pick up this book, what's the end result that would happen for them that you're hoping they will get?
Yeah, man. So the title of the book is called Business for Life. And the name kind of conveys what I am trying to help people with is create a business that supports your life, not one that destroys your life. And also, if you do it correctly, the business for life word, the phrase can also mean create a business you love so much that you never want to retire from it. Like, why would you retire from something that you absolutely love, that fits your vision fully, that's not taking any extra time, or you're doing the things in your business that you want to do? Like, there's no need to step away from it. So it's truly to help people integrate instead of like, business ownership can be challenging, and some people can feel a lot of friction between business and family and personal time and their health. And it can feel like a lot to juggle. And in this book, I really wanted to distill down the formula that I've seen at this point work with, gosh, man, a lot of businesses to really kind of regain your life without sacrificing business success. Cause I want you to be successful in business too.
Mm-hmm. So based on that, you mentioned formula. So I don't know if you want to talk about the formula or just one part of the formula that would hopefully, if someone's listening to this book, like, okay, you talk about business for life, creating a business that I love, that I don't want to retire from. Well, maybe I do want to retire, but whatever. But he sounds to me like he's talking about creating a business that I'm going to actually love going to this business and making me successful so I can actually live life. Sounds to me about the right? So what part of the formula, what would you say to them that they would get out of this book?
Well, let me back up first, because one of the things I think that is dramatically underestimated with entrepreneurs is two things, actually. The first one is that the incredible creativity that we have, the drive, the ambition, we are problem solvers. And that can also be a challenge when it comes to letting our business take over our life, because, if we're good at something and we spot opportunities everywhere, we are naturally drawn to opportunities to make money, to improve a system. Like we see an advertisement, like hey, they should have done this over here. Or maybe you hire a contractor to fix your HVAC and they don't set up the appointment well. They don't use automation. They have poor customer service. They don't give you any kind of like, assurance or any kind of like, they do a poor job communicating. You're like, oh, I could get an HVAC company. Dude, I ran into a guy a few weeks ago. He was a real estate investor. He had a property management company. He had a construction company. And I said, well, that's interesting. How did all that happen? He's like, well, one day I was doing a rehab and then my contractor didn't show up. And I'm like, you know what? I need to start a contracting business because you can't rely on anybody else. And then he had a contracting business, and then, he has these rentals, and he thought his property manager wasn't that good. And he's like, you know what? I just need to start a property management company because no one else out there can do it like I can do it. And by the way, this is a tip of the iceberg. So one part of the problem of being an entrepreneur is that we have this incredible acumen, these spidey senses, for spotting opportunities, which can absolutely take over our lives and our businesses and sabotage our businesses if we're not careful. The other side to this is, you know, the reasons I dive into this right at the beginning of the book is like, what are the real reasons that we overwork? And there's more than you would suspect. But the truth is this: I can show you how to get out of being the linchpin in your business. I can show you how to create a business that does not rely on you and that gives you the free time you want. But unless you've addressed some of these roadblocks, some of these mental limitations that are keeping you working, you're just going to scale. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with scaling, but I want you to create something better, not bigger, just for the sake of being bigger. And so, like before we even, and the reason I mentioned that before I even tell you about the formula is because we have to address, you know, some of these issues before we even talk about the tactical pieces and the strategic pieces of that process. Otherwise, you're not going to do it. Like, you know, you have to address that side of things too, because I promise you, the only reason you're overworking is not that you have too much to do. I would put money on that. Like, there's more to it than just that.
So you talk about that in the book. So
I
I
do.
love the
Yeah.
fact that you are actually diving into it and some of the reasons why we are, because I think what ends up happening, I think a lot of people, like you just mentioned this contractor, right? Oh, there's a problem. I got a solution. I'm going to put it in there. And now they got 15 different plates that they got to spin and running with the chicken with head cut off. And by the way, not just one business that they hate all of them, or maybe most of them. You know what I mean?
Well, not only that, dude, but, and this is meant with no disrespect to, because I mean, I was this guy. Most quote unquote serial entrepreneurs are people that have multiple businesses, all of which are not producing what they could be if the individual was focused. And in the book, I share a story of how I was that guy, and frankly I was afraid to pick the wrong business, and I was undisciplined, and I didn't have the ability to focus and be all in on one business because like I had too many squirrels and I was so distracted, and I have all these reasons why I had multiple businesses. But like, and there's nothing wrong with multiple businesses, but most people do set them up incorrectly. I cover a little bit about that, but it's really about like making sure that your business is serving your life and you're getting past these mental roadblocks. And I discuss 7 of them in the book that I really believe at least one, or probably my guess is several of them will resonate with you. And so this will help you kind of get past at least that first mental hurdle that's keeping you working so much. Now, at some point, like we have to take it from the internal to the external, right? And so that's where, you know, there's been a framework. We've talked about it on the podcast before. We've taught it at our Lifeonaire events for quite some time now. We've had hundreds of businesses like apply this. You know, Peter, I know you've shared it with your coaching members, and it's called the SEED process. It stands SEAD, not SEED. It sounds like seed, but it's SEAD. And it stands for strategize, eliminate, automate, and delegate. And it is a stepwise process that will systemize and streamline your business in a way that at the end of that output, and by the way, each one of these stages individually will have a game-changing effect on your business. But when you combine all of them, like it is transformative. If you guys might be too old for this, so I'm not sure if this analogy will work, but like, you know, there was a cartoon when I was a kid called Voltron, and it's a bunch of little robots, like little
That was
tiny
in the
robots.
50s? Is that what it was?
In the 40s. And each of these little robots combine, like when they had a bit, but individually, like they couldn't really do much, and they'd come up against this huge monster, this huge like robot machine or something, and they would combine, and they strategically combined to create Voltron, this one big like this guy, this little piece over here would become the leg, and this would become the arm, this would be the torso, this would be the head, and like it became this amazing, super powerful, synergistic approach. And that's what the seed process is. It's a synergistic approach to start off with a vision of what you want your life to look like first, and that's the strategize part. Because frankly, and this is shocking, I open up the book with this, is like the purpose of your business isn't just to make money. Like it is not just to make money, because money, I believe, is relatively useless if you're too stressed, too busy, you know, to enjoy it. If you can't even take a day off from work or spend it with loved ones or take the vacation, like what is the point of the money? You know, you have a nice empty house. And so like that's not success. And so we start off with defining that and really getting tangible on that. And then we work through how to kind of structure the business to give you that life.
Well, all right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what the book is going to do, because I think I will listen from my perspective, what he's talking about. I mean, I've seen this in so many different lives, in, you know, obviously in Lifeonaire and all kinds of different aspects of life, how this thing actually works. You know what I mean? So it's not from theory, it's from practice, right? And I think this is what's really important in today's world. So let me ask you this, because you said 3 years you were working on this book. What do you think was the biggest challenge that you learned, like the lesson that you learned that you can maybe apply to life writing this book?
So, uh, are you saying the biggest challenge I had writing it?
Yeah, and then what's the lesson that came out of it?
The biggest challenge I had was really codifying what I've seen as the key steps in other businesses that have allowed them to be successful, and really putting that into a tangible framework, and really thinking through the details, because I wanted to make this universal for all businesses. And so but the problem is, if you look at a swath of different businesses, you may see like this one does this thing correctly, that one does that thing well, but you have to kind of whittle down, like, what are the factors, the variables that actually are behind the scenes allowing it to be successful. So for instance, I relied heavily, I talk about this on previous episodes, like, but I was a scientist before I got into business. And I had my PhD. After that, I worked for the Navy doing biological and chemical warfare detection. It sounds 1,000% way cooler than it really was. But what I learned to do, and I used to think that I wasted education, but then I realized, like, I know how to think scientifically. I know how to think systematically, how to isolate variables, how to really kind of put together the pieces of the puzzle and understand why something works or it doesn't work, and adjust my hypotheses, adjust my approach and the experiments, you could say, to manipulate those things and see what the outcome will be. And then kind of figure out what are the things what's really going on here? What's really going on here? And that's what I've done in the book, is to the best of my ability. And it's pretty strong. We've seen, not this, I've seen the results, not just in my business, but at this point, hundreds of other businesses that, and I love hearing about it too. And people are telling me like, oh man, I used what you taught and it's done this or that. And like, that's the greatest compliment of all. Is like, I mean, yeah, it's great to hear like, hey, I really enjoyed your book. But to me, so much more than that is like, I
Mhm.
use this and this has been the effect on me. I got back, even 10 hours a week of my life. 10, you think 10 hours a week isn't a big deal until you realize that's 500 hours a year you got back. And that would be on the modest side of things. Or like, hey, I really reprioritized my family, and like now I've reoriented my calendar so that I put life first and business second. That's another key thing in the book, is like, really, this is something Lifeonaire is very, very passionate about as well, is like, how do you orient your life and your business so that life doesn't get the leftovers? Now, it sounds good in theory, but how do you really do that? How do you
Mhm.
actually do that?
Yeah.
And so that's what
Yeah.
I really dive into, man. It's been a labor of love for sure.
It's very cool, man. I will tell you guys this: if you have never heard these kinds of concepts, it's the revolutionary. Like when I first came up about learning life first and then business, I was like, "What? That's crazy." But when you start looking from that perspective, it changes your entire perspective how you actually run the business. So cool, man. Um, I have another question that just popped into my. Oh, so for the listener, who's this book for? Like where they're at in life when they're business.
Yeah.
What would you say?
The person who would benefit most from this, I believe, is the overworked business owner. Maybe you have an impressive title. You could be CEO, you could be founder, you could be someone who's like poured everything into a business, and you feel like that business is consuming your life. You feel like you can't escape from business. Like, you're missing your kids' soccer games. You can't take a shower without thinking about business. Your spouse is telling you something, and you, in the back of your head, are drifting off to your to-do list and all the things that you have to get done, and you can't wait to kind of sneak away. You can't take a vacation without thinking about work, and enjoy being there on the beach, because you're stressed out about all the things that are what's happening in the business when you're not there, right? Like, you are the person who would benefit the most from this. Now, if you don't have that yet, it's still valuable, but until you've felt that pain, you don't fully understand how valuable this is. Like, it's almost one of those unteachable lessons. Like, Peter, we've talked about this before, and we've chatted about this, like how you know, you can make 100 grand and feel great. And then we know the bar moves to 250, then 500, and it keeps going
Mhm.
up. And like, at the end of the day, it is true that, money does not buy success, doesn't buy happiness, and doesn't buy success. And there's other parts and other components to that. But it's kind of like, everybody wants to get there to prove it for themselves. And so, like, I would encourage you to not do that, not create a business that destroys and consumes your life, because I did that. And I have the battle scars to prove it. Share a little bit about my story in the book. And I don't wish that on anyone. Like, it's and business, like, listen, it's supposed to make your life better, not worse. Like no one goes into business to have less time, less freedom, less like less autonomy, but many times that's what we do. We trade 40 hours for one boss to 80 hours for ourselves, who's a way worse boss and violates every labor law known to man because we don't give ourselves time off. And we essentially do the equivalent of feeding ourselves under the door and working and to try to get things done. And that is not the approach that is sustainable. And it is not an approach that'll you can make money and you can have a great business, but I'd much rather you have a great business and a great life to enjoy it at the same time.
Very cool, man. I love it. I will do on the personal side of things. I cannot wait for you to actually have that physical copy in your hand.
Oh,
Open it
dude.
up. It will be on awesome. I love it. I mean, when I did it in my book, it was like wow, because that's like it's a huge reward. So I'm proud of you, man, for sticking to it and doing to it. Granted, you lost out to me, but hey, you know what? I mean,
So yeah, true fact. Peter and I did have a bet who was going to publish first, and you crushed me by like 8 months or something crazy. Like, yeah,
14 years, but who's
right.
counting?
But dude, and I'll tell you, like, truthfully, there were many times where I questioned, like, why am I? This is just
Oh yeah,
hard. Like, what am I? Why am I doing this?
yeah.
Um, and I've rewritten it several times. Like, I'm talking about a full rewrite. So my first version was over 72,000 words, and I put it through Hemingway to gauge the reading level, and
Uh
it came out to postdoctorate, and I'm like, oh no, because like my PhD.
huh.
Listen, my PhD, dude, in science, you are rewarded for how big the
Yeah,
words are and how complex the sentences are. The problem is like nobody reads like that. So I had to go back to the drawing board, dude. Like, and I had to like make it like so I had to simplify it. I had to streamline it. I had to get rid of all the word, so many words that were just unnecessary and really condense it quite a bit, which is very hard, by the way. Like editing down things that you think are good and choosing from the best to the best, because you think
yeah,
everything's good, right? You're like, oh, I
yeah.
want to share this, I want to share this, but you can't. And so, we are now, by the way, there were things that we had to cut that we're going to put on Business for Life doc. By the way, I don't even think I mentioned this yet. The title of the book is called Business for Life. Yeah, I did. I did mention
Yeah,
it.
you did. Yeah.
But the website Business for Life, there will be resources available there. We're going to have a lot of fun with a launch. The launch date again is March 10th, and we'll have a probably a 72-hour window or so that we'll consider the valid for this. And we're gonna have all kinds of extra prizes and gifts. And if you buy more books, you'll have the opportunity to sit down with me for half a day. Usually, people are paying me $3,000 to $5,000 a day to sit down with me. Depends on how long they want to do that. We'll have some one-on-one coaching calls that you can get. We're gonna have virtual trainings, all kinds of things to really help you take this and move the needle in your business and your life, and not just have it be a cool read that you get motivated and fired up on and inspired, and then it kind of just joins your overeducated bookshelf. I want this to become your operating system for your life and for your business, and so like that's the goal.
So listen, Hemingway, you mentioned that. What's the reading level right now? The book.
It's sixth grade level.
Oh, so even Paula can understand it.
Well, I heard somebody recently say like, hey, your book should be at a third grade reading level, and I'm like, dude, I cannot do that. Like I'm tapping out if that's what I have to do. Like I'm
No.
done. Like,
No, I think that's awesome, man. I love it, man. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the launch because I think it's going to help a lot of people, business owners, entrepreneurs, because, I've lived it myself too. I know how much you poured into this, the blood, sweat, and hair that you've lost over it.
blood,
And,
sweat, and hair. That's a great one, dude.
yep. And so I will tell you this, this book is going to make a difference for people. So if you are an entrepreneur, man, I would definitely go and look at this. And I'm not saying it just because he's my best friend and we're co-hosts, but I'm really truly feel from the perspective that this book is a business for life kind of a book. You want to create a business that's going to support your life, that's going to, allow you to live the life so you can spend time with your wife, your kids, your husbands, the people who are most important to you, and actually have a business that you're originally intended it to be. Pick up that book. I think it's going to make a difference for you. Actually, and here's the thing, you're probably going to have to take some actions from that book. Do you have any action steps in there for them too?
There are, man. We talk really like what are the key takeaways? What are the things you need to move forward with now? And there will be, I didn't mention this, there'll be additional resources on the website as well. We're going to do
Cool.
things like post sample job descriptions, sample automations. We'll have checklists. We'll have like all the tactical things to help you kind of implement as well, not just from the book itself.
All right, very cool. And if you want to keep not having the business that you want, then just don't buy the book.
Right, exactly. Well, thanks for the chance to talk about it, man. Listen, I really hope that you join me in the launch. Take advantage of all the special things that we're going to offer during the launch period, like some of that, some personal attention and things like that with me. We'll make it worth your time. We got some other goodies in there. I don't want to give away all the surprises yet, but it'll start off on March 10th. And so stay posted for that. And if you want to learn more about that, you want to register for the pre-launch, go to businessforlife.com right now and you can enter your information and you will be kept updated for the launch details and all those kinds of things. And I can't wait to see what happens from here, man.
Me too. Looking forward to it.
Have a great week, everyone. Take care. We will see you next time.